Beautiful. Welcome, everyone, to Love, Sex, and Leadership, where I have amazing conscious conversations with some of my friends and dear beloveds around the world who have been and are creating a lot of magic in this planet. And I'm very grateful today to have a dear friend. I've been on her podcast, I think it was twice, many years back, and happy to have you here, Sydney Campos. Author, facilitator, just an extraordinary human who I've had the privilege to know for many years now. So thank you for being here.
Thanks, Aaron. Yeah, I feel super touched to be connecting with you because I remember I'm like, when did we first meet? I have this really vivid memory of maybe seeing you in Bali at Soma like a long time ago, and I don't think we were quite friends yet. But I just remember I was like, that dude, like something's you were like having a weird energy day maybe, and I was like, something's going on with that guy, but I think he's really cool and I want to know him. And it was just,
Amazing.
yeah, it was like a distinct memory and like a long time ago. Like it might have been like 2017 or something when I was first kind of landing in Bali for the first time. And oh, and I remember the partner you were with, we were like singing and she was like, "You're all in the light, like you got to own your darkness." And it really triggered me. We were like singing like after dance and I was like, of course I'm in my light." But I didn't get it. I wasn't ready to hear that message. So that's
Mm,
another
hmm
story.
hmm And how is your relationship with the dark now? Tell me.
Um, I mean, it's ever evolving.
Mm,
Um, Even when I saw you in Tulum last, I think that's when we were last in person, and right
yeah.
before I did the first ISTA like a year ago. And I mean, it's always an edge. It's always been an edge. I remember doing your workshop at my old place, Mystic Manor in LA, and it was so hard for me to embody the predator, the
Mm,
rapist, the like
hmm
the good girl facade is such a strong has been such a strong mechanism wired in
hmm
my being,
mm,
in this life, in this body. And um, yeah, it's been a journey to unwind and drop out of those structures into something else, that doesn't have a strategy. And yeah, this last year has been actually really big in that
mm,
regard.
mm. Tell me more. I know you were speaking
Mhm.
about some of the things around surrender coming in for you, and you just had a book not too recently come out as well, which I was grateful to support and endorse for you. And yeah, I would love to hear about how your journey with surrender and leadership. And I know you're still doing facilitation, and yeah, really what's alive for you in these realms.
Thanks. Well, yeah, you asked me, what's alive and what do you want to jam about? And I said, surrender, LOL, just to be clear. And then you were like, surrendered leadership. Let's talk about that. I'm like, it's surrender, LOL. Okay. Just for anybody listening, it's like, what does it take? That this is just always my like the never answered question. What does it take to let go? What
Mm,
does it take to surrender? What does it take to be willing to be real?
mhm, mhm,
And
mhm,
and you think and you have an awakening. And this is a lot about what my book is about. I'm ascending. Now what? And it's like a trick question. Like now, like be yourself and like
mm,
continue surrendering to how you will not know again and again and again. I don't know. I don't know. Who am I now? Drop out of that even. Just come back into presence. And yeah, and it just I feel so humbled in this moment. Today's been kind of a day of like kind of being on the verge of tears in a lot of moments.
mm,
And tears of gratitude, tears of bliss, and like the gratitude of being alive when I could have easily really missed being here. I'm
mhm,
just really
mhm,
feeling that. I'm back in San Francisco where I grew up, a lot of memories of like growing up very fast and then also like on the verge of tears, feeling like this. if I were to put words to it, like a frustration of like, are we there yet? You
Mm,
know, been on this journey of embodiment or whatever you call it, just trying to be more me, trying to be more real, be more present, be more alive for
mm,
what feels
mhm,
like a long time. I don't know, maybe
mhm,
it's no time at all. And yeah, I just feel like sadness is present today around like, God damn it. Like, what does it take? What does it take for me to surrender even more into
mhm,
not knowing, like who I'm supposed to be, this whole persona identity of whatever the stuff you said about me, just like none of it means anything about me. None of it
mm,
means anything about my value, my worth, who I really am. What does it
mhm,
take to surrender to God, to a higher power, to divinity, to something bigger than the I am me, this little human? I'm just like, what does it take to surrender, to really be in full faith and trust that there is something far more intelligent than me running this whole thing? And then what does it take for like people, other people to like as clear I'm sure you know this as a facilitator, healer, I don't know, I'd love your take on it, but it's like, I have these people coming to ask me for help and coming in for sessions and they think they want help, but then they have resistance, and they're marrying to me, of course, my own resistance, when I think I want help with letting something go, and it's like, what does it take? Oh, you have to hit a bottom. You have to go through that suffering. You have to get to that point of really throwing your hands up and giving up, and that moment is gonna be different for everybody,
mhm,
and
mhm, mm,
surrender. I give up.
mm,
I don't know.
mm. Well, I just want to reflect back. I really, I feel you in this moment. I can really feel the tenderness that you're bringing in. I can feel your heart. I can feel yeah, the depth of the questioning. And it's a questioning I know for myself. I've been at many times. And I mean, even yesterday here in Bali, I was sitting in a men's circle with many dear, beloved men I love and appreciate, the guys I've known for years and years, and just sharing this deep questioning in myself of, this relationship with God and death and life, and what this whole human journey really mean. And I definitely can relate to that place of people asking for help and support. Of course, I'm always there to give my best, and that doesn't negate the fact that any one of us, has our journeys into the unknown, and ultimately that's where I think we all are. The moment I can relate to that so much, the moment I think I actually know something, like, do I really?
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah.
And it's all pretty
And
funny. I like your laugh. It's like, "Oh, yeah," and it's like just this fun game we're here playing. It's, like, not actually a big deal on
mhm,
some level.
mhm. Exactly. The thing that always comes to me, and I don't know if it's a service of the soul, but just a place of, okay, at some point I'll be on my deathbed, I'll be looking back at this life, and I'll say, did I love completely? Did I love deeply? Did I show up in my best? Did I live in joy? Was my life riddled with just trying to get things done all the time, or was I actually going out to smell the flowers? And that to me is always the place I arrive back to, is
Mm.
like, okay, I'm gonna smell the flowers. I'm gonna dance in the rain. I'm gonna, play with this life that's here. Whatever cosmic joke of reality we're diving into, something's happening.
I love that, and also, like, I don't know, to be even more real, like, this last year, 2023, I feel like there's a distinct closure now in 2023, but I'm reflecting on how, like, it was hard, like, I had some really intense. I don't know if this has ever happened for you, or I know it was more present for other people I, support and kind of collaborate with. It was like there were really loud moments of, like, deep questioning of, "Do I really wanna be here on this planet?" And, like, it came through as, like, suicidal ideation attachments at some points, and really interesting things in the psychic space, and I think catalyzed by some physical, stuff I had going on that was kicking up really ancient, like, toxic shame and fear and just, processing it through my body, and it was hardcore, and it felt like a really deep initiation of, like, "Do I really wanna be here?" And, yeah, the deathbed I love, of course, like, I'm here to be fully alive, I'm in this human experience, I'm here to embody, I'm here to teach and serve. but also what kinda came up for me from that was, like, I kinda, like, did it all. I kinda, like, did everything in a way, like, I wrote the book, I taught all this stuff, I said way too much, I made way too many videos, like, I did a lot, and in the spirit of, like, my truest authenticity of my soul journey, what am I really here for now? If I'm not the
Mm,
identity of the healer, the facilitator, the teacher, whatever, who was at a time sourcing a lot of value from that,
mhm,
persona, and so there's a lot of dismantling of that, for me last year, and the guidance I got, from my different from source was like, "You're here to be an inspiration,"
mm,
like,
mm,
maybe the new teaching in terms of presence, authenticity, and real presence is about just being an inspiration, just inspiring through living and
mhm,
following, as you say, and not being so concerned with the channel through which that is conveyed and communicated, that, like, just living for yourself and
mhm.
not being so attached to that specific expression, and so I've been exploring that, and it's been a really good, like, just feel super humbled, and I feel like this other part of my ego I never really got to know, I'm just, like, watching it die, like, the
Mm,
part that wants to be really important and known and special, and yeah, and it's like, there's, like, shame and all kinds so talk about meeting the darkness, right? I'm just like,
mhm,
"Okay, what's in here?" And then there's all this
mm.
stuff about money coming up, which is really interesting, and yeah, it's cool, and it's not all, like, heavy every day all the time, but in this moment, it's like that's what's coming
That's
up.
what's alive. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, this kind of, dance into the unknown, this place of the you could say the more soul realms and, differentiating personality, soul, and, call it monad or call it, the dark abyss to which we originate from. It's funny, I can definitely identify the times in my life when my personality has been very identified to the ways in which really my soul is leading the way, but my personality is like, but see me, hey, I'm doing good too. And it's like, yeah, okay, I want to justify that and verify that. And the thing I've learned more than anything the last, probably 3 to 4 years, especially with the amount of teaching and facilitation and retreats. I mean, I have a crazy schedule through the year. Is the more my personality gets out of the way, not only can I be more energetic and actually be able to do, back to back to back retreats and things, but it's actually like it's my soul that's just like guiding. And I'm my general mantra is, can I, as personality of Aaron, get the fuck out of the way? Like, can I let whatever
Mm,
energy, wisdom thing, guide? And I know you know this quite well as well. And it's like yet, and in these dark places where like the personality, some parts of it are dying and transmuting and dissolving, it's scary, super scary. It's like, whoa, what's actually going on here? Like what the fuck is
mm.
actually going on?
It's a trip, yeah, like, the suicidal thing I mentioned is just the best terms I have for, like, the experience I was having, it was like it was I don't know, things are just getting very multidimensional and interesting in my reality, and I know that it's also helping me to kind of like step into a new level of service in my dharma, which is to heal and support others in their embodiment. And it's like, I feel like I'm just getting upgraded through my own initiations to be able to have more capacity to help people with the stuff that they're bringing to me, which is getting like really complex in some cases, like really interesting multidimensional integration and just like all kinds of new abilities. I don't know if you've been seeing this in your work. I'm sure you have, like, when we unlock the body more and get more energy moving, there's like all kinds of abilities coming online for people in addition to the elevation of the planetary frequencies and what that makes possible. And so it's beautiful. And I've been blessed with, like, also people coming into my field now who I like, we weren't in resonance before, and they're just kind of coming out of nowhere almost to like support and help and kind of as colleagues and soul family, like ancient friends. And it's just shifting my ideology of like what I thought coaching and mentoring and that whole structure that I was playing in was about. And there's just some kind of a new orientation coming
Mm.
through. And it feels like templating, part of what might be this new economic system that we see starting to template, starting to come forth.
For sure. So if I hear you correctly, through your surrender of what isn't working for you anymore, you are leading the way into new paradigms. Whoa! I guess we found our direction of our surrendered leadership here, dear.
Synthesis. It was there all along. Yeah. And
Yes, yes, for
I
sure.
love that, one of my other titles for the book, I'm Ascending Now What, was like, get out of the way of being yourself.
Mm,
And
mhm,
not like like you said beautifully, these personalities are so heavy. They're so heavy.
mm.
They take up so much energy to maintain. I don't know about you, but mine is giant. It's so big.
So what? So tell me, and also, the people listening, when they experience, or you experience that big personality that's seeking identification and wanting to be seen and wanting to be honored and recognized, like, how do you navigate that? Like, how do you, like, give a level of honoring to it, but also not let it run the show? I'm curious how you navigate those realms.
It's changed. I feel like I used to be so good at it, and now whatever shifted in my being, like, is requiring a whole new tool set. That's what I feel like I've been cultivating the last, couple months. And, something that really helped me recently. I mean, I've been meditating, yoga, all the modalities. I feel like I've done everything for like the last 12 years or something. And something that really helped me just this last month was Vipassana meditation, which had been on my radar a long time. And I finally went and did it. And so simple. It's like such a simple, I've been doing like complex, like psychic development and all these like trainings and protocols. And this technique was so simple, and it was just requiring that you drop all other techniques and practices and focus on, generally just focus on breath and sensation.
Hmm.
And it's
Hmm.
almost like I had done all of the work just to be able to actually finally sit there and do that, and
Mm,
and go so deep and out of the mind. And so
mhm,
I'm integrating that experience in my reality now, which is a high contrast, kind of coming back into 3D reality, San Francisco. Like, there's a lot of, energetic interferences happening here. And yeah, coming back from that, I've been able to track more closely when I'm in like the personality that has a lot of expectations and agendas and is kind of like draining energy in certain ways, tracking all these details of how people are receiving me, or, making up a lot of stories about how things that I do, like what they mean, how they're, being impactful or not, or whatever. Um,
mhm,
I can start to feel in my system when I'm getting a little bit hyped up, like when I'm a little bit, you know, um, it feels like just more frenetic, I suppose. Uh,
mm,
I I can notice that more, and I've been able to catch myself a few times, even today, and I feel more in touch with a deeper calm and presence now, which is,
mhm,
me, more me.
mm,
And somehow I've just been extremely letting go of a lot of emotion in this process. It's like that feeling when you feel more deeply what feels to me like more of my core, that
mm,
I finally have more capacity to feel and access. Yeah, there's a lot of emotion there for me. It's like releasing. It's like a lot of the words don't really seem to do justice the experience, but it's like, yeah, it feels very full and
mhm.
rich. Also, yeah, just flowing, a lot of flowing energy. And I don't know if that fully answered your question, but that's what I'm learning and practicing. And but it has come with like also a renewed commitment to practice, like I've had periods in my life, as I'm sure you have, where it's like I do sadhana and I do like really strict discipline things, or I've given my power over to like, I have to do this protocol every day for 2 hours or else, you know,
Mhm, mhm,
and codependent, like spiritual practice. But with the Vipassana, I've reached such a state of equanimity that I've never felt, that I'm almost
mm,
like motivated by fear of losing that, that I'm like, okay, I'm gonna meditate for 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour at night and do that technique as best I can. And with that, hopefully stabilize and more of this sustained connection to, that true core.
mhm, mhm. No, I love what you're sharing and the different layers to that as well. One of the questions, that comes up. I've done a lot of silent meditation, not a direct Vipassana, but I've sat many times in silent meditation, a variety of different disciplines through the years. And, the piece that I see happen is sometimes I see through that Vipassana journey, sometimes there's a more of an ascendant journey rather than a descending into the body. And sometimes I've come across, and I'm sure you've come across people like this as well, that through their meditation is actually like a bypassing of the body. And knowing I'm a tantra guy, I'm in the body, I'm in the senses, I'm in the aliveness of the breath and the sound and the movement and and of course I like my stillness. So I'm curious for you, having done a lot of embodiment work and really, teaching and supporting people in that way, how did you feel not only the people around you, but also the integrative nature of that equilibrated mind into the place of the body? How did that land for you?
I totally know what you mean. It was, and it was profound. I did a Vipassana called K-Passana in Maui like years ago. It was 2 weeks silent. It was awesome. I love silence. I'm like way more comfortable there. Like, can we just be silent? That'd be great, like forever. Like, I just want to go back to the monastery. Like, I'm good. That's like way more my preferred reality, but I'm not allowed to do that in this life. Like, we're here to
Mm,
be in the world, but not
mm,
we're not of the world. And
mm,
I sink into that kind of space so easily. It's so familiar to me.
mm,
Done a lot of silent practice too, but just, I didn't actually do the technique though. This is the thing. I didn't do it. I didn't follow the directions because I knew better back then.
mm,
I think I
mm,
actually, admittedly now, I don't think I knew it at the time. I think I thought I was doing it. I felt relief. But looking back, like I was literally just sitting in silence for 2 weeks looping thoughts and like figuring stuff out and probably deepening like mental thought patterns and unhelpful like behaviors and identities for 2 weeks. And whatever. I mean, it's all good. That happened. It was beautiful. We were in Maui. The whales were like breaching in the distance. It was like surreal. It was so
mhm,
beautiful. COVID happened
mhm,
like later. So I'm grateful for that experience. But this time I got to a point where my mind had been, kicking my ass so hard that I was just like, I surrender. Like I will just do this technique and throw everything out the window that I think I know. Like I'm done. I'm done with all my fancy Akashic, whatever the hell. Like I'm good. Like tell me what to do, God. Like I'm done. And
mhm,
and the first day in the retreat, I mean, I was having, the first couple days you just do a different technique to kind of develop focus, mental focus of the breath,
mhm,
focusing on a very small area of sensation. And I really did it. I really focused and I was having some of the most psychedelic experiences I've ever had. Like
mm,
it was surreal, and,
mhm,
I like there's, like, interview time with the teacher, and I, like, went up, and I'm kind of in this altered state, and I'm like so I had this experience where I'm asking her, I'm like, "Where" I think I, like, popped out of my it was a biolocation for sure, like, I popped out, and I was watching the, room from around, and I was surveying everybody, and she's like, "Sounds like your mind just made a mental projection and, just return to the breath." And it was so cool because for my spiritual ego, which wants to be like really alien and galactic and special, and I have all these abilities, and I can teach you how to remote view and biolocate, and let's invent teleporting and all this stuff. And just to have a teacher be like, sounds like even though I don't really biolocated, but in that context, it was really good to just be like, it doesn't matter. Like none of that
mm,
matters. Like you're here. The
mhm,
message we got was like, you're here to be a human. You're here to be in a body. and you're here to master feeling.
Mm.
And to do so is requiring you to differentiate your mind and really cultivate the capacity to put it in the back seat. You know, it will
Mm.
always be there, it will be running. There will be times when you don't hear it at all, and it will be finally silent. But to get to that point is requiring you to really deepen in the awareness of the sensations happening and then cultivating immense detachment from those sensations. And in that process, I mean, I got a rewiring, Aaron. I got like a big rewiring. I'm integrating in my being, and I felt stuff like slide out of my brain. Like I felt like at one point a stone slab get like I'm just sitting there. It's like day 3, you know, and I feel like a stone slab get like taken out of my brain. And
Mm.
then my heart started beating out of my chest and I started falling forward. And it's just stuff I've had a lot of experiences, nothing like this. And it was so potent and just so conscious and there and present, and it was going deep into the body, deep into sensation, deep presence with what is already naturally occurring, and then not attaching to the good sensations or the bad, you know, judgment of good or bad, whatever that means, just watching.
Mhm. Mhm.
It was really life changing, and yeah, it's something that I will, you know, take with me forever. And then there's the whole model of how the whole thing is just ran on donation, and that whole thing blew me away. And just the generosity, and yeah, it was really moving.
Mm. Yeah, it sounds like a really deeply profound experience for you that opened you up to, yeah, the different realms of meditation and the different realms of yourself and getting deeper into the autonomous state, which is amazing.
I
Yeah.
think it's for everybody, you know. I think it reminds me of these things. I love to investigate social movements, you know, like again on the topic of like what does it take to be willing to surrender to something greater than yourself and drop the
Mm.
personality, be real and fully live, and you know, and I love observing and participating in these templates of these global social movements. ISTA is one of them, you know, thousands of people. What does it take to have like such a diverse field of individuals gathering for this shared purpose of awakening and embodiment? And then in the Vipassana, it's like it was such a diverse, it serves thousands, probably millions of people. And these models are so revolutionary. And I think they really are for everybody. And in that particular field of the group I was into, I felt a lot of people kind of like, yeah, going the more ascending route and being really in the mind, man. We have these minds that are like they're so strong our whole lives forever. Our whole society is conditioning us to live in the mind, not be in
Mm.
the body,
Mm.
not feel, not have desire, not be powerful. It's like we're up against a lot.
Mhm. Mhm. No, we are. I mean, and these minds that can be utilized in our, ultimately our awakening for sure, if they're resourced in an effective way, whatever that may be, whatever avenue they could be utilized for, this awakening journey. I guess the place of this place of where meditation, this place where surrender, this place where leadership all intersect. And I think the thing that I'm curious to get your reflections on, and having moved around a lot of these kind of spiritual worlds and different disciplines and ideas, and how does someone, who's listening, who's found this new teacher, has found this new discipline, how does someone begin to differentiate between, this teacher who's come into their life, that of course they're on their own mission, but you and I both know there's people that are often, I wouldn't say doing it for the wrong reason, but they've learned the skill, and then that the skill can make them a 6 7 figure income. And then they're like, I'm now this guru person. And there's a beauty to it. Like, you're helping people, and there's also there's some deep unknown shadows there. So I just, like, I see so much. I've been in this for 16 years now, and I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot of people come up, and a lot of people
Mhm.
fall, and a lot of people rise. And and I see these new people who are so green and so thirsty, and they want new things. And like, I generally find for myself, by the time someone gets to me, they often have been doing work for like 10, 15 years. And then they finally found like a deeper guide. And I'm not saying I'm the ultimate guide. There's other people who can support them, but there's a lot of bullshit. I just want to call, like, and I feel you, and I've felt you since I've met you, and I know that how you show up is with such integrity and such vulnerability and surrender. So how does someone like decipher like what's bullshit and what's not? I'm curious.
I fucking love you, Aaron. I actually really wanted to talk with you about this, like either here or otherwise, because exactly. How can someone discern? You can feel it. You can feel it. Talk about the personality. Talk about like social media being the ultimate vehicle in which huge inflated personalities and agendas and egos can just be like take up so much space and prey upon those that don't yet have the discernment yet, fully refined and cultivated. And guess what? It all serves a purpose, because I had mentors that at one point I've just been through the gamut, and I myself even tried to did the high ticket coaching and paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to mentors and trainings and funnels, and and I'm like a marketing strategist in my former career, well, current career, but I had this I just had a lot of that fervor that I think you're talking about when you see the new green people who are like genuinely really wanting to serve and help and support, and they had an awakening and they want to share it, and they're so excited, and there's just so much excitement, and they're talking to you like this in the video, and they're like, ah! And I'm like, oh my God, I can't listen to you talk. You're so anxious. But you're like me. I was like that when I started, and I didn't know. And I helped a lot of people who are just a few steps behind. And it took me personally going through those experiences of working with mentors that had a really great facade and great marketing and great sales pitch, and then you work with them a little bit and they couldn't support me, and they didn't have the capacity. And one of the most powerful moments was working with someone I had invested $100,000 in a year, 100 grand coaching for 1 year with this woman who, I think I was attracted to her because she was doing these Facebook live streams where she was just like sharing these like galactic transmissions, and they were so hypnotic and so magnetizing. And I was like, I was doing that with clients privately. I was channeling, but I couldn't do it publicly. I was terrified that I was going to get burned at the stake on some level. I couldn't do it. So this woman was showing me a part of myself that had not been fully awakened and embodied. And I'm like, I need that. I got to have what you got. Like, I have that in me. I need help. And the conversation wasn't as fully conscious, I wasn't fully conscious of that being the thing, but I went in, I paid all this money. And then at one point, some really deep trauma was coming up, as it does when you're unlocking, power and opening up your, creativity, and shit got real. And this woman, it was fascinating. I could tell she couldn't handle it. Whatever I shared with her actually triggered something in her where she collapsed, detached. And right then and there almost was like, said something to the effect of, this is not fun anymore. I can't, she literally told me, this is not fun anymore. Like, we're done. Or something like that. It was horrible. Like, recapitulate my abandonment trauma. And by the way, we were playing a whole mother-daughter thing out anyway, which I think is also very present out there in this world where people are seeking out help. They're seeking out parental figures to like reenact, try to enact a healthy relationship, but it's oftentimes not conscious that we're doing that, and can cause a lot of re-traumatization. And so anyways, that was horrible. I had an existential crisis after that. I'm like, do I even want to be part of this industry? This is in 2017 or 2018. I'm like, I was like, if this woman's doing this and charging this amount of money, and this is what she's doing, and I can actually support people much more effectively with a much greater level of depth, like, what? And like, what am I doing? I'm not charging $100,000. And like, wait a minute. It was just But really what came up most of all was like, do I even want to be a part of this? Like, this is
Mm-hmm.
a mess. And honestly, this was coming up for me. Again, like this has come up a few times. I don't know if you've experienced this. It will come up in my system sometimes as like, it's probably the anxious, like I just want to check out. Like, I don't want to deal with this mess. Like, I'm out of here. But it's like, I don't know if I want to be a part of a system that is so rampant with distortions and re-traumatization and unconsciousness. And then I took 3 years, trying to invent a new social media platform to solve the problem. But that wasn't really ready to take off. And, so I'm in my own rediscovery of like, yeah, what is my integrity and my service and dharma? And I don't want to be driven from a place of I'm here to rescue and fix and save this industry and whatever. But like you, I'm also finding in my journey, I'm available now for a greater depth of service. And the people that are coming to me are people that have been burned in some cases and have some projections to heal of prior experiences that didn't pan out as promised, or they've just seen through the bullshit from day one and they're like, hi, let's do some stuff together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I can relate on so many levels. I mean, ultimately, when I first did my master's degree in spiritual psychology, and I was living in LA, and I was 25, 26 at the time, and deep in the world of self-development, and I was very blessed because I got to meet like Debbie Ford before she died. I got to
Oh,
connect with
cool.
Wayne Dyer. I got to meet all these like amazing Bob Proctor, all these guys that have been involved in the self-development world. And not necessarily those that I just named, but after about 3 years deep in that world, I was working for a big self-development publishing company. And, I generally just witnessed, again, not everyone, but there was a vast majority that would speak and teach something from stage, but then their lives were dictating the exact opposite.
Yeah.
And I remember just feeling inside of me, and I was very green, I was very new, I was very excited, but there was just something inside of me that was like, something's not lining up. Like I would meet a lot of different people who just gave this great presentation and then interact with them. And I'm like, you're different now. Like, why can't you just be in your naturalness when you're teaching and speaking? And I'm far from perfect in this, but it is one of the things that I really try to hold true as a value of mine, is just being really authentic and really like, just like, for example, witnessing you when we first started, just really sharing the state of where you're at and not trying to sugarcoat it and be anything other than where you really are. To me, like, just I have so much love and respect for that, because I can feel, of course, we can, give these galactic teachings on all these different pieces and all that stuff, and it's beautiful and it's amazing. But actually, like the realness of just being who we are and not being afraid of that, and the vulnerability. And this is, to me, where surrendered vulnerable leadership. And again, it's not what what gets me is when I see the posts and the things, vulnerable share. We're
Oh
going into a
yeah.
vulnerable post now. It's like, just share. Why do you have to preempt it?
Because you need to know you get ready. Because people, even in sales trainings, they're like, here's a template for how to write a vulnerable sales post and reconnect. It's just the mind fuck is it goes so deep. Like, it's like, people do not have real empathy. Like the problem goes so much deeper than all the stuff that we're mentioning. It's like at a societal systemic level, where are people getting exposure to true connection and empathy and touch and like real attuned presence? I had a moment after my Bali retreat. I just was in Bali, hosted the best retreat ever. I think it's like the last one because it's just the best that we ever did. Like, we touched into such a high frequency. We were so present and everyone was just in love.
Mm,
This is heaven on earth. We did it.
mm.
And the group loves each other so much, they're literally planning their own retreat. And they're like, come to the Azores with us. We're planning a whole, like, we're all going. And I'm just like, oh my God, like I created a monster. Like, it's amazing because it's like at the end of the day, all this business stuff, like it doesn't matter.
Mm.
I'm here to create depth, connection, love.
Mm.
It's like the reason I'm alive.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
whenever that feels, that simplicity of the mission has gotten distorted by anything else, it's like that's when I got to go in and be like, okay, what, like that's the personality, like, oh my God, what, like it's so simple. We're here for connection. And
Mm-hmm.
then the like part of the another way people listening can discern, it's like, God, people that are running an agenda and they're kind of like pulling at your energy and they're like, you can feel it. Like I think more people than they may be aware, like they know, more than you think.
Mm-hmm.
I would
Mm-hmm.
say take a moment when you're on social media, when you're out looking at the news or whatever, whenever these channels are, popping up and you're looking for support. Like we all need support. We can't do this alone. Ascension,
Mm.
awakening, it's an inside job. At the end of the day, like you're here alone. It's you and God. Yes. But you don't have to do it alone. There's people that can help you. I have so much support. Like, thank God.
Mm.
Thank God I found support and people that are like highly attuned people. I can just, at this point, I don't even really work with coaches or mentors. I have people who are highly attuned, present, embodied beings that I can literally, like a session is just like we're hanging out talking. I end up sharing about something that's alive and I'm processing so much backlog of energy that I've been holding in my field in my body that I didn't even know I was holding. And I just get to let go because someone else has done the work to have the capacity of clarity. We're
Mm.
just sitting with them, being with them. I already know the answer. There's nothing to figure out or talk about or like get coaching on, really. It's just like cleaning out the mess, like cleaning out the
Mm.
stuff that's no longer needed so I can see and feel truth. Is pretty
Yeah.
much it. And I think that's where we're evolving to. It's presence. It's like your presence is the teaching. And maybe someday it will just be like sitting in silence. Like maybe my next retreats will just be silent. But not everyone's ready for that. People are on other trajectories. And early on in the journey, it's like there's a lot of different stuff coming at you. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, how do you discern? I would
Mm.
encourage people just as a step one when you're, seeking support, track the energetic state you're in when you're on social media, when you're
Mm.
reading someone's newsletter, when you're like reading a book. Like, how do you connect to yourself? How do you connect to your heart? If it's like too much, like connecting with your body energy is weird, like just take a pause when
Mm.
you notice. The hardest part is taking a pause when you notice you're in a kind of hooked energy and something has your attention really hooked in.
Mm.
And it's different for everyone. That's why we practice meditation or practice embodiment practice, so we can get more used to noticing, like, oh, I'm totally hooked in, I'm like totally hypnotized. And then how do you stop and pause and come back and bring your energy back to center, breathe, resource, connect to self, feel yourself,
Mm.
and then re-engage and then see, okay, like how does this person really feel? Like, because usually you can tell, like, I think more than ever, again, like we're just so much more conscious and aware than we give ourselves credit for. You can tell when something's off.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
99% of people, I can't really, like, it's hard for me. It gets to the point eventually where I cannot listen to certain people's voices. And some of these people are like famous celebrity spiritual healers or whatever. And I'm like, I can't even like turn it off. It's like nails on a chalkboard because the vocal intonation is indicative of so much unprocessed trauma and
Mm.
about personality projection through the trauma. It's like, I'm like, get it away from me. It's like
Mm.
spewing, and this is with so many people. And I think this is part of an entrainment that people are also desensitized to. But as you
Mm-hmm.
start to unwind your being and you're able to be more present, grounded, connected, you'll start to notice. And it's really interesting. Things get really strange. It's like, wow, that person's famous. And then totally I've had the experience many times, especially when I was in Austin. No, I mean, I don't know. I was like, where the hell? Like, what is the big deal about this? Because I just so many people who were like these big influencers and whatever. And I was just so frequently I'd be just very unimpressed with their presence, their embodiment.
Mhm.
But then,
Mhm.
but then that comes up for me also is like, okay, why does that bother me? Because
Mm.
my ego has a, I'm like, what part of me still wants to be special and important and whatever, famous? And people do relate to me as that, but there's still some kind of attachment I have around that. And that's why it bothers me. And then I come
Mm.
back and I'm like, okay, wait a minute. They're helping people. They're reaching a ton of people where they're at. And they're reaching people that like probably aren't really my people to reach. They're kind of like priming. They're like maybe getting people ready, and because there's no scarcity. This is the other
Mm.
game we got to unplug from. There's no scarcity. There's just, and I'm like really working on honestly like cellularly embodying this knowing. I understand it conceptually, but like really embodying the understanding that there is no such thing as scarcity on this,
Mhm.
that we are truly abundant in every way. Like, because it will come up sometimes. I'm like, these famous people are diverting all the client, and it's like, that's not true.
No. Yeah, no, I can appreciate and, relate in different levels. And, the thing I'm like, I look at, for example, in the men's work I do, which, the retreats I run with men, there's like advanced men's retreats that are definitely not for everyone, and the depth to which we go in. There's absolutely no way new people will be ready for it. And so what I see, like these big organizations, when I see like Sacred Sons and Mankind Project and all these things, like, their social media is great, and someone was sharing that, they were at one of these events and there was a circle of 12 men and 7 cameras that were happening at the same time. And it's just like, yeah, like that's not the field that I hold. I mean, I love what they're doing, and I know they're opening the doorway into people's lives, and I celebrate that. And I also recognize that these different organizations, groups, people, they take people to a certain level. Wherever that level is, where finally that individual is like, okay, I'm ready for something more. Whether that's whoever, whatever it may be. And this is where I come into deep resolution with, just like, I know that the people that end up in my inbox and the people that show up at my live retreats and events and all the things, like whatever the number, whatever it is, they're the individuals that are ready to dive in deeper. They're ready to fully meet themselves in this way. And they also need to be in resonance with the magic that I'm bringing, which might be good for them, might not be for them. And it's just like, for me at this point, it's just like such a deep surrender of like, hey, all I know I can do each day is show up, be in loving service, support the people that are in my field, put some things out there into social media. I really, at the end of the day, even though I do lives and things like that, I'm not a big fan of social media. Like I do it because I know it helps to connect with people. But like, it's just, there's so much fakeness, and there's so much things that are just articulated into this world of trying to coerce people, which if you can coerce them into transforming and opening up their heart, beautiful, like celebrating that. But with all the other stuff, like boom, it's just, it gets me.
Oh,
So yeah, yeah,
well,
yeah.
something's coming up really in this conversation. I'm so glad we're exploring this, and it's like we've never been more connected in some ways, but we've also never been more alone.
Mm, mm,
And man, I just been feeling the grief about this. Like,
mm,
people are so
mm,
alone on this planet. And,
yeah,
like there's a loneliness epidemic.
mm,
Suicide has never been higher. We have 10-year-olds more likely to die at their own hand because of the distortions on social media around identity and body image. And these things are not really talked about. They're not cool. It's not, it's like, but this is real. This is happening.
mhm, mhm,
And, and something that was coming up for me when I was in Bali, I was spending a lot of time with my friends that have new babies and
mhm,
families, and I was just like, nothing really matters except like families and these kids, and like what kind of environment are we creating where,
mm,
like the family is supported in our society. where these
Mm.
children are taken care of and empowered. And, I was like, really, I'm like, God, do you want me to give up my whole thing I've been doing? Like, what am I supposed to do? Because I just feel like there's way more important work to be doing, and then even when it comes to these, like, the influencers and the people that are like not embodied and they have a whole persona, and it's like a prison. I feel like I tapped into that, when I started my business, and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know any better until I knew, and then I didn't know again, and then but the unmasking and the dismantling was so painful, and it's like I had created such a tall pedestal to sit on that separated me from everybody, and all I want is connection. But the
Mm.
persona and the performative nature, and people that can only relate in that kind of a lens when you need something from them or you want something from, it's not reciprocal, it's not balanced, it's very lonely. And actually, I mean, on the same note, I met some of these people in Austin and LA, whatever, all the places. It's everywhere. It's all over the world. And it's like, wow, that must be lonely,
Mm.
holding up such a big, heavy mask where, you can't break character.
Mhm.
There's one
Mhm.
person in particular, I felt like an immense amount of grief in their field, and this person is involved in some of those organizations you said. And who knows, like, we all change and lifetimes happen in a day and whatever, but it occurred to me, like, I wasn't able to connect in that moment, but later on it occurred to me as an afterthought, like, wow, person came in, powerful presence, very charismatic, like, powerful being, but the whole conversation was teaching. And I wasn't at a retreat. I'm like hanging out on my friend's couch. Like, we just worked out, like I'm chilling, and it's like I didn't sign up for a lecture.
Mm.
But this person can only relate in that way
Mm.
because we're
Mhm.
used to people expecting that from them.
Mm.
And it
Mhm.
occurred to me
Mhm.
afterwards that, wow, we didn't really connect.
Mm.
There was this opportunity to, like, hang out with some really cool people on this really comfortable couch in this beautiful house. And this person came and gave a lecture instead of
Mm.
just, like, relaxing and hanging out. And,
Mhm.
I wonder how many people are doing that unknowingly, and how, um, or if they're aware, or if that's sad, or if that's lonely.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, and it's, when I hear you say that, I can relate to different times, definitely in my own journey of, this part inside of me that needs to teach and share to every person I come across, and then actually the deep, like, resting and relaxation, and my own current reality, like, I mean, last year I think I taught like over 25 retreats. I'm so when I'm not in a
Wow.
when I'm not in a group space, I'm just like right now I have the rest of January free until February, and then I have some things on, and I'm doing the podcast, I'm getting some things out there, but I'm generally just dancing, being like, I have very little desire to teach anything to anyone. I mean, I work with clients, but I'm in that so often that it's just so refreshing just to, stare at the swaying palm trees and drink coconut water. It's like my whole body is like rest, joy, nothing to do, So I'm yeah, I get it.
I love that.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm kinda
Mm.
like, "Should I work at a startup and just leave all this spiritual nonsense behind?" I mean, honestly, maybe it's just part of my ego. I mean, I don't care. I don't have any I've, like, no sh at one point, I would have had shame even saying this, but I literally am in a place of I don't give a fuck at all, and, like, "God, please direct me to where I am
Mm.
meant to be most useful."
Mm.
And I feel like I'm getting sober again. Like, my awakening started in, getting sober from drugs and alcohol 12 years ago, and then, I'm kinda like, I feel like I'm getting sober again from, like, my personality and, like, attachments to all this success stuff that has been running loudly, and it sucks in some ways, but it's also really cool. Like, I feel so much lighter and just more free. I'm like, it
Mm.
doesn't matter what I do. I could do whatever I want, and I'm still me, and I'm touching into more of my true value as, not attached to anything. And I know that's not
Mhm.
everyone's journey, but for me, that's a really deep one. And the last couple months have been intense in that way, but it's kind of cool. I feel really spacious. Like, what am I meant to do now? I've had this journey. I've helped so many people. I've done all the things, and maybe I'll keep doing it, but in a more like what feels to be a simple way, like just
Mm-hmm.
clear, simple, easy. I don't really like marketing, all the stuff I learned, to like sell people into helping themselves. Like I just think it's so silly. I can't, and I'm really good at it, but the part of me that used to like get on a live stream all the fucking time and like couldn't relax because I'd be like, this has to be a story to like tell someone about like an awakening. And I can't, I literally cannot do it anymore. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm so relieved. And I don't really know what will be happening. I mean, I wrote a newsletter today for the first time in a while, and it felt real. And it invited people to like some stuff I'm doing and ways I can support. But I don't know, it just feels really different. I don't feel
Mm-hmm.
like Sydney the coach or Sydney with an agenda to like really do anything beyond help if someone shows up and really wants to do the work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Beautiful, beautiful. Well, I'm
Surrender.
celebrating.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
celebrating your simplicity and surrender and your joy.
It's a
Mm,
surrender. LOL is that.
yes, yes, absolutely. Well, it's a joy to feel you and to hear you and just to get caught up on where you're at in your journey. And yeah, I'm very grateful for your presence and the authenticity of our catch-ups and conversations through the years. It's always very real wherever we're both at. There's never any sugarcoating, which is such a high value to me, to friends in my life. So thank you for not sugarcoating anything.
I love you, Erin, and I'd love to like. I don't know if I'm gonna do ISTA again. Like it was honestly just so much fun. But I kind of just want to do it to see you do, like facilitate. Like maybe I'll
Hmm.
just spy on you. That'd be fun.
Come. I'm doing a couple this year. I mean, there's a lot of other things I do other than this too, but yeah, 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 for sure. It could be a
Well,
fun
I kind of want to see specifically you in that field, though. Like I don't know.
in that field. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's yeah. I'll be teaching in June a living level one, which is like level 1.5, not quite the level two. Sometimes I teach level two as well. So yeah, it's a beautiful field. I mean, I have my own, love-hate relationship with this, and I celebrate what it does, and I'm happy to be of support. And I think I think it's been beautiful how they've been showing up and creating a deeper level of accountability in this field. And for that, I'm really grateful. And I think it's really paving the way into new ways of deeper integrity and accountability into, a field that has a lot of gray area. So we'd love to have you in one of those for sure.
I just did it so I could be in all these WhatsApp groups. It's really cool because now I can just go anywhere. And I mean, that's silly, but also I don't know, like when you go through, and I know your work and all that you facilitate is about initiatory journeys and rites of passage. And I guess mine is too on some level. And there's just a certain resonance, when you've shared these experiences, these unique experiences with people. And it's like you didn't necessarily have to be in the same experience together, but it's kind of like this secret language, like, oh, you did that thing. Cool. We can like hang out.
Mhm,
In most
mhm.
cases.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, it creates a certain soul resonance for sure. Yeah, yeah,
I have to
absolutely.
ask you a question. So this is like now we're on my podcast. So what is your like the big vision coming? Like you're building your house in Bali, you're teaching all over the world, you're teaching ISTA, you're right, the book is out, Audible's coming. Like I don't know, I guess what I'm asking, and I'm kind of asking this selfishly from my own process too, like do you still hold like big visions or goals for yourself of like the next year, the next 5 years, or do you like not and you're just allowing?
I love this question, for one. Um, two, yeah, to me, it's a combination of both. Like, it's a deep surrender into asking myself moment to moment, day to day, like, how can I be in service and show up? It's doing things that bring me a lot of joy. Like, one of the things I'm doing in about a year from now is climbing one of the highest mountains in the world, and that's scary and it's crazy, and I know I'm going to have a whole leadership, container leading up to that whole thing. So that's really exciting. And the other thing that's probably present to me, I just turned 40 this last year, and there's definitely a recognition of wanting to bring some little babies in the world, whatever
Oh,
world this is. So that's also, present in my field. So I feel like in many ways, I have a few more books I want to write. I have two or three that are already underway, and I see several more books coming out in the next couple of years about a variety of different topics. And yeah, and also, like the land I got in Bali was basically, if the world goes crazy again, I want a place that I can just, live off the land, be
mm,
with the trees and the waterfall and everything else, that I need along the way, and trust the process of it all. So, for that, I'm deeply grateful, and I definitely have, the general overarching dream or goal is just to continue to be in service and to live a life of joy and to make love a lot. I like making love. I like making love to the trees. I like making love to, and living and drinking good food, and knowing that I'm celebrating all the pieces and the aspects of what life brings in. So I think I do a pretty good job of that.
you're doing it. You're being it. Thank
Mm.
you. That's really sweet to hear. I really feel that, and that's you'd be such a good dad. Oh my God, I so love that for you. Like, yes, embodied dad. Like, that's
Mm.
amazing. That's amazing. I love that.
Mm.
The kids are like doing like activations when they're like 3. They're like, yeah.
Yeah, I've had in a couple of sessions and different experiences. I've definitely felt the souls of some of the beings coming in, and feel their resonance, and I've always felt intuitively. Children would come into this world for me around 42, 43, and it kind of feels like around the trajectory of my life right now. So I'm just surrendering. I'm just like surrendering each and every day. How do I show up in love? How do I share the love that's inside of me? How do I, support others to do the same? So yeah, that's a journey.
I have so many questions. Like, how do you find the mom and the partner? And like, how do you date? And how do you, or do you just, it's like a poly fest? Like, how do you, like, how, because it's like you do all this work. I do all this work. And it's like, and then you like, anyways, it's like, how? Allow it. Just surrender.
Yeah, and deep listening. It's deep listening, to both my masculine and feminine inside. That's ultimately what it comes down to. Like, there's definitely beings in my field, and there's just an awareness in certain times, even the last year, like there's, beautiful loves that have come into my life. And a certain point came when it was like, actually, we're complete now. Like, this doesn't, we're still dear friends, but the romantic connection of that, even with my last, relationship with Raven, we're dear friends, and it was just very clear the romance of our connection was complete. And, I'm just open to, like, it's kind of like a deep question with God. I'm like, all right, God, I see what's going on. Like, show me the way. I'm here listening. Part of me thinks I have an idea, but I ultimately know I have very little idea. I see the goal, I see the vision, and I'm just going to continue to show up in love every day, and be in my authenticity and truth. And that's about all I can do.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Thank you for the questions. I love it. I love it. Yeah. Thank you for diving in.
Needed to make sure I got some coaching, I needed some help, so thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. No worries. Here to help. Here to be of service, darling.
Perfect.
Well, thank you for your time. Thank you for your, for the service that you bring into the world, for the books that you've created, and the many lives that I know you've impacted and continue to impact. And I don't think there's another human on earth I'd rather have a conversation around centered leadership with. So I think this is a perfect dialogue. Yeah, mm, lots of magic.
Too. Me too. Thanks for being my friend and thanks for like tracking all these different timelines. It's been a lot of different iterations of this life and you've been in really specific moments and thank you for that.
You're very welcome.
Mm.
Thank you all for listening, and see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.